In 2009, a researcher at Cambridge University placed a crow in front of a puzzle that most human children can't solve before age 7. The crow solved it in 4 minutes. The researcher described the moment as genuinely disturbing. That word is worth sitting with. Disturbing. Not impressive. Not surprising. Disturbing. Because there is something specifically uncomfortable about watching an animal do something your brain told you only humans could do. And once you start looking at the data, that discomfort doesn't go away. It compounds. Let's start with the crow, because the crow is where most people's assumptions fall apart first. Crows belong to a family of birds called corvids. Their brains are tiny, roughly the size of a walnut. For most of history, scientists assumed that brain size was the primary marker of intelligence. Big brain, smart animal. Small brain, simple animal. Crows destroyed that assumption completely. In study after study, beginning in the late 1990s and accelerating through the 2000s, corvids demonstrated something researchers kept struggling to explain away. They plan. Not instinctively, the way a beaver builds a dam or a spider builds a web, but deliberately, for a future they can mentally simulate. In 2006, Cambridge researcher Nicola Clayton ran a series of experiments on western scrub jays, a corvid species, that changed the field entirely. She found that the birds could plan for future hunger by hiding food in locations they anticipated needing it the next day, even when they were currently full. They were mentally projecting themselves into tomorrow, imagining a future version of themselves that would need something today's version didn't. Psychologists call this episodic future thinking. Until Clayton's study, it was considered an exclusively human cognitive ability. But here's where it gets stranger. The jays didn't just plan, they also deceived. If a jay was watched by another jay while hiding food, it would wait until the observer left and then move the food to a different location. It only did this if it had previously stolen food from other birds itself. Birds that had never stolen didn't bother re-hiding. The jay that had stolen knew what a thief thought like, because it was one, and it planned accordingly. That is not instinct. That is theory of mind. The ability to model what another individual is thinking and use that model to make decisions. It is one of the cognitive abilities most associated with human social intelligence. A bird figured it out independently. Now let's talk about Ayumu. Ayumu is a chimpanzee at the Primate Research Institute in Kyoto, Japan. In 2007, researcher Tetsuro Matsuzawa published a study that the scientific community received with open disbelief. Ayumu could look at 9 numbers displayed randomly on a touchscreen for a fraction of a second, and then, after the numbers were masked by white squares, tap the squares in the correct numerical order from memory. Perfectly. Consistently. At speeds no human player has ever matched. The task was given to humans. University students. Professional memory athletes. People whose entire careers were built around cognitive performance. None of them came close. Ayumu's working memory, the system your brain uses to hold and manipulate information in the short term, operates at a speed and capacity that makes the average human look slow. Matsuzawa's explanation was evolutionary. Chimpanzees in the wild need to process their environment faster than we do. A chimp reading a tree canopy for predators and food simultaneously needs to absorb and retain more visual information more quickly than a human who offloaded that burden onto language and tools thousands of years ago. We didn't get smarter than chimps in every way. We got smarter in the ways we needed and let other capacities go. But nothing in the animal kingdom prepares you for the octopus. An octopus has no skeleton, no centralized brain in the way you think of one. About 2/3 of its neurons are not in its head at all. They are distributed through its arms, which means each arm can process information and make decisions semi-independently. An octopus doesn't so much think with its brain as think with its entire body. And what it does with that distributed intelligence is genuinely difficult to categorize. Octopuses have been documented opening child-proof medicine containers that many adult humans find frustrating. They escape from sealed tanks, cross open floor space, raid fish tanks in adjacent enclosures, and return to their own tanks before researchers arrive in the morning. In 2010, a captive octopus at an aquarium in Germany correctly predicted the outcome of 8 consecutive World Cup matches by choosing between 2 boxes of food representing opposing teams. The odds of that happening by chance are roughly 1 in 256. Researchers still argue about what it means, but the strangest documented octopus behavior isn't about problem solving. It's about play. In a 1999 study, Jennifer Mather and Roland Anderson at the Seattle Aquarium observed octopuses repeatedly releasing pill bottles into a water current and then catching them, with no food reward and no apparent purpose. They did it again and again. Play behavior. The kind of activity associated with curious, cognitively flexible animals testing the limits of their environment purely for the experience of it. In an animal with a lifespan of roughly 1 to 2 years and no social structure whatsoever. Playing. Alone. Then there are elephants. Elephants pass the mirror test, the standard behavioral measure of self-recognition, meaning they understand that the animal in the mirror is themselves. They grieve their dead in documented, consistent ways, returning to the bones of deceased family members years after death, touching the skulls with their trunks, standing in silence. They have been observed appearing to comfort other elephants in distress, placing their trunks in the mouths of upset individuals in a gesture researchers describe as functionally similar to a human holding someone's hand. In 2011, a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences documented an elephant named Koshik who had learned to mimic human Korean words by placing his trunk inside his own mouth to alter his vocal output. He learned 5 words. Their meanings: hello, no, sit, lie down, and good. He used them in context, not trained responses to commands. Spontaneous, contextually appropriate communication attempts directed at the humans around him. An elephant trying to talk to us in our language because we hadn't learned his. So here's the uncomfortable question all of this builds toward. If crows can plan for the future and model other minds, if chimpanzees have faster working memory than any human ever tested, if octopuses play and elephants grieve and a single elephant taught itself to speak Korean, what exactly is the thing we think makes us special? The standard answer is language, cumulative culture. The ability to stack knowledge across generations so that each one builds on the last. No other animal has written a book, built a microscope, or sent a signal into space. And that's true, but here's what's also true. Every one of those abilities, planning, theory of mind, working memory, play, grief, communication across species, we assumed were exclusively human until we looked carefully enough at something else and found them already there, waiting. Quietly operating in animals we had spent centuries assuming were beneath us. The crow in that Cambridge lab didn't know it was disturbing anyone. It just saw a problem and solved it, the way it always had, the way its ancestors had, long before anyone was watching. Maybe the most honest thing the data tells us is not that some animals are smarter than we thought. It's that we were never as singular as we needed to believe. Intelligence didn't begin with us. We just became the first species capable of being embarrassed by that fact.